It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February the 18th, 2025, and I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please bow your heads for invocation by Councilman Marr?
O Lord, we ask you to watch over this council meeting and to help guide us in ways that are best for the city of Diamond Head. We ask you to watch for all the people in the world who are sick, suffering, or just feeling that they just don't have anybody. We ask you, Lord, to be with them and make us your instruments. We ask you, Lord, through all things, to help us be better servants and stewards to your will. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mayor DeBrio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland. Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
I'm going to move to adjust the agenda to add under number 1 a resolution 2025-045. Motion to adopt resolution 2025-006 to purchase easements for the bank stabilization from Frederick Pilot in the amount of $5,000. Also, under the claims payable, add number 17, another docket of claims. A motion to add docket of claims DKT 2325551 in the amount of $5,000. And I would like to move under the consent agenda number 12 to the action agenda. Could I get a second to move as amended?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regular meeting of the City Council will be held Wednesday, November the 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers located at City Hall. City Hall will be closed the following Tuesday, March the 4th, 2025, in observance of Mardi Gras. And now tonight we have Mr. Frank Bordeaux to talk to us about our favorite topic, property insurance.
Thank you. This time last year, I came before y'all and advised y'all that we were working on passing legislation or changing legislation to allow us to pull properties together on the coast that weren't like kind. The legislation at the time said that cities could pull with cities or schools could pull with schools, on and on. Would not allow y'all to cross-pollinate. Obviously, the folks north of us haven't been very interested in coastal property for obvious reasons, and so coast public entities have been excluded from pools. So we changed the law to allow us to cross-pollinate with the argument that property is property. We're not trying to create a pool to do general liability or workers' comp. Understand those are different risks from a school and a city and so forth, so on and so forth. So we got the legislation changed, and we've been working on this pool now for quite some time. Our goal has been then and still is to provide y'all final numbers on that pool on 4/1. In the meantime, I have hired Robert Schwartz to start working on bylaws. We've taken bylaws from pools all across the United States. We really looked at some of the coastal pools, 4 of which are in Florida, looking at kind of best practices, what we can do to put this thing together. That has gone to the insurance commissioner. We should get approval from the insurance commissioner this week, but it's purely a concept at this point. It's not a living association. Y'all have not passed a resolution, and I'm not asking y'all tonight to pass a resolution to join the association. What I'm asking is to allow Mr. McCraw and Mr. Cusick to represent y'all over the next couple of weeks as we go through the process of building this pool with the 12 other public entities that are joining. Currently, the way we stand, and one of the reasons for the late, we've got 5-6 weeks to work on this. We want to make sure we can deliver terms and conditions that were favorable. Obviously, it's about $2.4 billion in value along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We have modeled that. We're buying 2 times the probable maximum loss on a 250-year storm, so $350 million worth of coverage. The coverages that we requested was a Cadillac version. It was basically everything we had coverage-wise prior to Hurricane Katrina. Wind-driven rain, no exclusions on roofs, no ACV on roofs, actual cash value basis on roofs, outdoor property included. We also asked for surge to be included in the definition of wind, so there's no question wind versus water. And then we asked for a pretty large sublimit of critical flood, so not non-storm related flood, just rising water type. We were able to get all of the above. High debris removal sublimits. We also included domestic terrorism, active shooter, kidnapping, ransom, some coverages that none of the public entities currently buy, that obviously is getting more and more important. And we were able to do that, and it looks like the rates are going to come in about $3 million less than what collectively the 13 entities paid last year. The mechanism for rating basis for this per entity is going to be it's a pretty simple methodology. We take the total insured value of each individual, their probable maximum loss, and we apply the total premium to that portion of the public entity. Limits are a lot the same, and that's one thing that this group has to work on. In the case of a total loss, we know what a total loss is, $350 million. How that's allocated is going to be very similar to how the premium was allocated. And so, but on a partial loss, that's where the question has come up, and it's different from pool to pool. And so we're running actuary reports right now and modeling to determine some of that stuff. I don't believe in the bylaws, and I will talk to every one of the entities. I've actually spoken to every single entity at this point. I would not recommend that we put that in stone because that changes year to year. I think that we will address premium allocation as well as limit allocation on an annual basis based on the information and the modeling at that time. Models get better and better every year, and so that's going to change. Also, as this populates, and there has been a lot of interest in joining the pool, as it populates with additional entities, those will be underwritten on an individual basis, and we won't build a single property tower more than $2.4 billion, $350 million in the hardest market we had, 3 years ago. That was kind of the sweet spot of what capacity we could get from a global standpoint. So we don't want to build a tower that has $700 million because I can get it this year, and we enter into a hard market again and we can't get limits. So we'll build separate towers under the same association, as long as that we'll build until we're done building that. Every year we will model each individual tower to determine what entities go best with what other entities. If we can spread the risk over the lower 6 counties and we're able to spread it with less outdoor equipment, we don't want to load up one tower with a huge exposure to protect the overall program. There is no joint and several liability. Your limit's your limit. What your benefit will be is you will get massive sublimits that otherwise you would never be able to get. The way we have structured this is to create a loss fund of $1 million, so each entity will pay their portion of that $1 million on an annual basis. That loss fund is for your all other perils, fire, theft, vandalism, so forth. Currently, y'all have a $25,000 deductible. We have entities that have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 deductibles on their all other perils. What we asked the market to do, and they've agreed to, is we will have a $100,000 deductible with a $500,000 aggregate. So every time we hit $100,000, once it gets to $500,000, collectively, insurance drops down and pays first dollar. So that $1 million will buy that deductible down from $100,000 to $25,000, what y'all's current deductible is. So every entity gets the benefit of getting a lower AOP deductible. The reason we did this was if you take all 13 entities over the past 5 years and you look at all of their perils claims, there's only been 3, 2 of which we could subrogate against. So that money we feel is pretty safe. That money lives with the association. The idea is that money keeps building up, and when another hard market comes, and it will come, or a Katrina type of event comes and premiums get so difficult to bear, the board at that time can say, we're going to use this to subsidize premiums for the next couple of years, or we can build a captive, we can do some alternative, we can take larger deductibles, or buy more excess coverage, and we become the risk taker. And so the ultimate goal is stability in this program. 3-4 years ago, well, for the past 5 years, I've been bringing bad news to every public entity, but y'all couldn't budget for it. It was difficulty in the global market. And so what this program is designed to do, we're never going to see the highs of the high market in this program just by our buying power. We're going to be able to negotiate with carriers that we typically wouldn't be able to negotiate, that wouldn't be interested in our account. We're also not going to see the lows of the low. The idea is for a stable premium over the long haul, build up a loss fund, and be able to be risk takers on our own at some point in time. So that's the long version of me asking if the council and the mayor will allow for Mr. McCraw and Mr. Cusick to join us over the next several weeks as we build this thing out. And then we'll be bringing a resolution to you all with the final bylaws. Once it's a living deal entity, then my plan is to present final numbers to the board on the 19th and start meeting with each one of the entities on the afternoon of the 19th, 20th, 21st to have it bound for 4/1. Y'all's cover comes up, I think 4/3, I believe. April 8th. Okay, 4/8. And so the carriers that are involved in your current account are taking a share in this overall pool, so they know what's going on. They're completely well aware. So I can answer questions. I know there's probably a lot of questions, and I'll be coming to see y'all probably way too much than y'all want.
Okay, Councilman Moore, any questions?
Yeah, I just have one. So this reserve fund that's going to go towards like the down payment amount of a premium when some event happens, what is going to be the mechanism for replenishing that once you pay out to, let's say, just one city needs it? Is it going to be just that city that replenishes, or are we all going to split it through the 13 or whatever?
So that's a great question. So this year, the premium allocation is based purely on your exposure. Moving forward, there'll be a loss ratio component that will be decided. So each entity will have a number rather than a name. And as we go through our claims every year and we look at our exposures, we will allocate that based on a true loss ratio. So everybody will get debits and credits based on their own loss ratio. But we can never ask, if y'all had this building caught on fire, we're not going to ask you to replenish, whatever that number may be in 1 year. That's just not, any new members that join, not only would they have to go through the same underwriting criteria that all the 13 entities that are currently proposed to join this, but those entities as well would have to pay their portion of the loss fund. So if they join in year 2, they would have to pay double. If they join in year 3, they would have to pay triple to buy into the program. If somebody leaves the program, they can't join back for 3 years. If they leave again, they can never come back. There's got to be a hook to create stability in the program. Just like what I'm doing for y'all, and I would imagine other agents will do this as well, I'm pricing this. So whenever I come back in the latter part of March, you'll have what your renewal would be standalone and what your renewal is going to be in the program. So Obviously, the larger entities are going to see the larger decreases. They have a lot more exposure and pay a lot more. But where the smaller entities, y'all will have a decrease. Y'all going to have a decrease regardless whether you go in the pool or not. The market's getting soft. But what you're going to see is extremely better coverages than what you can get on your own.
Okay, Councilman Clark,
No, ma'am.
Councilman Finley,
Councilman Mark covered my question. Thank you.
Councilman Lisi.
No, but this is very interesting. Thank you for all your hard work. This is
It's
great.
been a long 24 months.
I bet.
A lot of trips to London. Those aren't all, they're not as fun as everybody likes to think they are.
They do sound a little fun, Frank, I'm sorry. So looking at the 12 entities, how were those chosen to start with?
Okay, and that's a question that's come up quite a bit. It's business I control, but it's also business I know for a fact have good statement of values that have improved their, when inflation was going up, they increased their valuations, improved roofs, improved window coverings. It's something that I know when I packaged it and went to London and Bermuda and Atlanta and met with carriers, I could speak intelligently on the risk we had. As we get new folks that want to join into the association, we will underwrite them likewise. We will scrub their SOVs. We'll make sure we have all the secondary information. We will model each one individually, and we'll model them together to see how they affect our association. And again, we're not going to take anybody mid-year. It'll be my plan is to begin taking submissions, and we've already got other entities that are reaching out to me. I begin taking submissions, clean everything up, and then have them for 4/1/2026 is what the plan is.
Okay, so you're trying to, that was my other question, you're trying to get this implemented in 4/25?
4/25 at our renewal. Yep.
Okay, so all 12 are going to be ready at 4/25 to jump in and renew, so the renewal period will stay this. Are they all renewing at the same time, or are
No.
you changing a few?
And that's another good question. So from 1/1 to actually 12/31 to 4/1, we had, and that's where the 4/1 date came from originally, is you had the larger entities that renewed in that period of time, and their carriers agreed to just extend their policies kept this current rate, and that was kind of part of them. The carriers want this program. They see this as a way where they can stretch their limits that they're providing on the lower end and be able to pick up some excess. So the insurance portion we're about 85% full to capacity. And so I feel confident now that I can get to 100% capacity. And it's not that I can't get there now. We're negotiating really on the 100 million that's excess of 250 million. We have carriers that typically would never ever even think about looking at any one of these accounts individually, and they're competing for that excess. But we also have people on the lower end that's competing for the excess too. And so we're going to end up with about 41 slips in our panel of
Wow.
carriers.
Okay.
So
that's
all
good.
A-rated. We're split 50-50 London and domestic right now. I think Berkshire's going to come in pretty hot and heavy, and I think we'll probably end up 70% domestic, 30% London. But the London markets were what made this available. They went on the primary layer, the primary 5 million, and agreed to all of our terms and conditions. And so that made the domestics start agreeing to them, because it was a real deal then.
Right.
So
that's
domestics didn't agree to anything until I got the primary. So
Okay, well, do you have an estimate, you know that the smaller accounts, which of course is the city, compared to the bigger that you're bringing in with us and the partners of the 12, how much reduction do you anticipate, or is it too early to?
it's too early to commit to a number just because I don't know what those once I start getting the excess layers like really set in stone. And so and rather than wait until that happened to finish the formation of the association. So we're going to have three things going: formation of the association, the underwriting, and then the premium and limit allocation all at one time. So it's going to, the next 5 weeks are going to be a mad rush, but ultimately we're going to bring you a much better product than what you would be able to get individually. So, and also we're going to, anybody that wants to buy down their deductibles, I know a lot of folks have talked about buying down their deductibles or buying excess limits. The excess limits portion isn't a worry for y'all, I don't think. If you want to buy down your wind deductible, we're going to have those options for you as well, because right now it's a 5% per building wind deductible. Some folks want to take advantage of the savings and buy more coverage. Y'all may not want to. It just depends on what y'all want. But what we're trying to do is provide every option. And there's going to be additional options that we're going to be able to do. I just got to get the insurance commissioner, and I think he's all for this. I spoke to him today. I mean, he's very excited about this. And this is, now there's 4 other groups that have approached about putting together pools like this.
Okay.
So I think, it's new and we're learning, but I think it's going to be very successful. So.
And this is totally off the topic, so you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you just said you spoke to the insurance commissioner today. So looking at homeowners insurance, it's a big problem. It's a big problem all over the coast. Is there any resolutions forthcoming to help?
I mean, there's 2 new carriers that are entering Mississippi.
Okay.
And so the only thing that I tell everybody is make sure whoever your agent is marketing it. If you're in the wind pool, there's probably an option out there for you. I'm on the wind pool board too, and we've seen a depopulation of wind pool policies, which means a healthy market. One thing I will say for Mississippi, and I might get daggers thrown at me from behind me.
They all look very nice and happy.
They might not agree with this, but the reality is, if you look at residual markets across the coast, whether it's the Atlantic coast or the Gulf Coast, Mississippi's residual market did not populate anywhere near what other residual markets populate it at, which means we have a healthier market than a lot of other states. We all know that living next to Louisiana. I was looking at their residual market. That scares me to death, knowing how many policies they have in that market. Florida as well.
Right.
Alabama has fared very well. And Alabama has fared extremely well in a hard market. They're about 1/3 of the premium is average Mississippi home. Mississippi home's about 1/3 the average premium of a Louisiana home. Alabama put in place a resiliency program 8 or 9 years ago, which required fortified roofs.
Right.
And so they're ahead of us. Mississippi's launched their mitigation program, and the commissioner and I know our coast delegation's trying to get more money for that mitigation program, and Louisiana just launched theirs. So we'll see how that all pans out. But
We need that.
I'm
Is
not
there
a
anything we
legislator.
can do to help to get that moving faster?
I mean, they funded it last year,
Okay.
$5 million. It's nowhere near enough.
No.
But it's for fortification of roofs. But the insurance market does know that we are taking
Working.
efforts. And all of our cities along the coast have adopted good
Mhm.
building codes since Katrina.
have.
And people,
Mhm.
the insurance market recognizes that.
All right, well, I think that's all the, excellent presentation, thank you. We're
Thank you.
excited to hear the numbers.
Well, they're going to hate me, but thank y'all. If
Thank
y'all
you
have any
very
questions,
much.
Call me on my cell phone.
Thank
Yes, sir.
you. Okay, we're now moving on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Update on our current projects we have. First, on the agenda tonight is the dog park lease. The engineering firm is currently working on the redesign of the park and will provide me an updated OPC for this project. The engineer will include all elements of the original design in his updated drawings, and unless the additional fencing is required due to a larger size of the park than the original, the estimated budget of around $70,000 is what we will need we will need to build this dog park. Once I have the updated OPC, I'll ask for the budget amendment for the needed roughly $40,000 on the next agenda. The paving 2025 project, the work assignment is also on the agenda tonight for your approval. The estimated cost on this is roughly about $1.4 million for just the paving part on this. The project includes paving and base repair on Bayou Drive, Lola Drive, Turnberry Drive, Turnberry Way, and Court. The Civil Link road survey that was conducted last year rates all of these roadways between a 3 and a 4. These roads were chosen as we have done additional drainage projects and other repairs on this road, and so this will patch or pave the rest of these roads to match up, all except for Lola Drive, and it's just a really bad road for most of that road. It was rated a 3. And as far as the overall, we only had, and I'm just going to make a guess here, about 6 or 7 roads, which are mostly just real small cul-de-sacs that were rated lower than the 3. So these roads are some of the roughest in Diamond Head. Been a lot of construction going on in these areas, and so this will patch those roads up and make this area those roads a lot better. The MDOT project, the I-10 westbound ramp, if you saw today, has been fully paved. I'm assuming they still have a final course to put on that. I'm not 100% certain, but they are continuing to work on that. Currently, they have scheduled the 21st as a completion date. I don't see that with this rain coming Wednesday, but we'll see if they can't get it done in the next couple of weeks. The walking trail and sound wall portion of the widening project is also progressing. The contractor, due to some drainage issues that I brought to their attention, is installing 3 additional culverts on the west end of the trail, of the walking trail, to allow for better drainage. They're also going to be removing 3 trees within the drainage ditch so that they can improve the site grade on that ditch. That work should have started this week and probably will be completed by the end of the week. They also installed a temporary culvert on the I-10 pond area because to allow that water to drain out of that pond there to get across that road. When the overall project is finished, there's actually going to be a pedestrian bridge that will be built there, and all that drainage water will be able to go through that. So there won't be an actual culvert there. It'll just have a bridge to allow the water to flow. Doing that helped lower that overall drainage detention pond that's there, and help overall the project, the Ahuli project, which all drained into that pond. The Park 10 Road, weather's kind of delayed our walkthrough, but the striping project, the striping for that project was worked on yesterday and completed today. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go down there. It looks really good. It's a really nice road and a nice striping for the stripe down the middle, as well as the parking bays for that overall project. So it's starting to look good. We'll do a walkthrough here in the next couple of this week or first of next week to finish out that project. Kaliki Way, the completion date on that project is March the 3rd. The base repair, I believe, has been done on all of that road, all those roads, the Kaliki, Aiki, and the Amoka areas that were required for base repair, and paving should be done starting this week. Probably not tomorrow, obviously, but this week and next week, and we'll finish up on that project. Comey Drive in Talipacona Pond, that's a 120-day project with a current end date of June the 10th. The contractor has completed all the driveway repairs, putting in the upsized culverts on those driveways, and will probably has begun. I didn't get out there today. The upsizing the landscape culverts in the residents that had landscape culverts. They finished all the ones on the south side of the road, and they were working on the ones on the north side of the road last week to finish up those driveways. So all that should be done. Once all the culverts and driveways have been repaired, they will start the dredging of the pond itself. The Coon Branch project, those bids are due March 26th. This project is to increase the same thing, more or less, driveway culverts on Kahana Street, as well as a portion of Anahula Street. The project will also address the rear drainage ditch at the intersection of Anahula and Cola. and Kahana Street. So everybody that lives kind of from that intersection to Kahana Street, there's a big ditch that runs through their backyard. That entire thing will be enclosed in a culvert, and all that will be restored, so they'll eliminate that drainage ditch back there as far as an open ditch goes. The canal dredging project, the bids were open on the 10th. All those documents will be sent to MDEQ for them to review as a bid package. I'm meeting with the engineer tomorrow morning to discuss those bids and make sure everything's ready for to move forward on. Jordan River Boardwalk, I took this Tidelands lease to the Secretary of State's office last week, and that's getting sent to the governor and the Secretary of State to sign, and then and get back to us. So I should have that lease back here sometime this week or first of next week. The rest of that project, we're continuing to have our monthly meetings, actually meeting Thursday, I think it is, Wednesday, tomorrow then. We'll have our phone call meeting with them tomorrow to get updates and see where we are on that. The bank stabilization project, we have divided that up into 3 phases. Phase 1 will cover the area from Diamond Head Drive North, which is Montjoy Creek area, to Calipacona Pond. So it's the rear ditches in those residents back there. So we're starting the requirement or the acquisition of the easements that we need for the additional easements. That is what's on the addition to the agenda tonight. This gentleman owns 5 lots and contacted me, and we added that in to get his started. So there's several more to go, but we'll get working on all the rest of them. And the engineer's working on those final drawings on that project at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Marr, any questions?
Yes, on the MDOT projects, you said the 21st of this week, of this month, so that seems very optimistic to me. But going off that, what is there any projection of when the path and the wall will be completed?
That's a separate project altogether. You gotta realize what I'm referencing is the roundabouts, which is the simple or the project for us as within the city. That whole project, like I said, is right now getting the third ramp done is scheduled right now for the end of the week. It was scheduled for the end of last week, so I could see it by the end of this month getting finished, and they'll start on that 4th one. As far as the sound wall and the walking path, that whole project is currently scheduled to be complete by March 2027.
Wow.
So, whether they'll, work in phases and have different companies or subcontractors working on different parts, I'm not sure, but I'm sure you've seen some of the rebar that's in the by the road there on the interstate. That's all part of the sound wall being put in, and then, like I said, the walking path the base is all down. They haven't put any asphalt down, and that was what when I spoke with the engineer on that project, I explained to him that we're still having a lot of drainage issues, and he wanted to address those issues now prior to paving it and then having to tear it up. So that's what they're working on, to add those additional culverts, and then we'll have to see once they're in place, see some rain and see what happens, and hopefully they can address some more issues before they finish out that project.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Clark?
Yes, ma'am. One question. When they do install those culverts, the pond that's there, they're going to kind of dredge that one section out a little bit from the Ahuli project to help flow with it too, or?
Then MDOT won't. That's our property. That was dredged. We did dredge the kind of west end of that pond as part of the Ahuli project. That was added in as that additional little work we did at the end. And they cleared all that sediment that collected right at the very mouth of more or less the pond. So all that has been cleared. The ditch going from where the area washed out there, I'm not sure how familiar you are with it. There was a bend in where that ditch went, and because of that bend, the water started this whirlpool effect and was just tearing out the dirt and everything. So they put in a lot of riprap, replaced all that dirt, and then deepen the channel getting to that pond so that water has a better way of flowing and can make it. The issue was the water was too high,
Right.
and that's what, thank goodness MDOT finally installed the additional culverts there to allow that water to get out at this time. And then, like I said, they'll build that pedestrian bridge so that water can stay that way. And then if we need to, we'll lower our end to make sure we got enough flow to keep that water at the level we want.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Finley,
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi.
Thank you. Have we heard from MDOT whether or not they're going to be able to do anything to help us with the replacement of the Diamond Head sign that we had to remove?
No, there was no, there has been no discussion with them regarding that, but I can certainly bring that up to their engineer.
I'm just curious. I think at one point we weren't sure, and then
Yeah.
I didn't know if a decision had been made.
Nothing has been but I can certainly ask if
Well,
they're.
and, might as well see. And then,
Sure.
has there been a plan made for landscaping yet for the inside of the roundabouts? I know we have to have low things, but.
Right. We did, Orion Planning did provide us a lot of landscaping ideas and design overall, and that's just something we'll look at when the project's finished and the property's turned back over to the city.
Perfect. Thank you.
They did, Orion, whenever the plans were being drawn for the Exit 16, Orion came and did a presentation on the plants and the low-profile plants, and that's when we asked MDOT not to make the island going down the median completely concrete. We wanted an area for plants, and they were gonna leave areas for plants. Remember that? Does anybody remember that? Okay, because we need to make sure they. Yes, it was, because we don't want, when you see a total concrete island, it tends to collect trash, garbage, it looks horrible. So it's going to be softened with plants. I have a few questions. Code enforcement officer, is he acclimated and ready to roll? He's out there working?
Yes, ma'am, he is. He was. I asked him to come, but he already had a prior engagement to tonight, and I don't believe he's going to be available for the next meeting on the 5th. But he will definitely clear his schedule for the second meeting in March.
Okay. Maui Circle, I'm assuming that was the contractor that left the limbs there. Was that the water sewer contractor, or who left the limbs
That
on
was the
Maui
resident
Circle?
through all that there. He's been
Okay.
contacted to clean that up.
The resident's been contacted to
We
clean
sent him a
up?
letter last week.
Okay, because it's still there, and I know people, are we going to have to wait the 30 days to get it removed?
Very possible. As I say here in the city manager report, I noticed it and I gave it enough time for the grapple truck to pick it up. And when it didn't, I had code enforcement Friday send him a letter to notify him that that's that he must clean up his property. The biggest problem is he's actually thrown it on a different property owner's lot, so he's going to have to clean up that property owner's lot. So.
Okay, because that is really not attractive. Turnberry Way, and I know I've brought this up several times, the new build on Turnberry Way, they keep bringing dirt, and now it's up this high, and the other homes are down like this. Are we sure that he hasn't brought too much dirt in?
Yes, ma'am, we're sure.
So how is the drainage going to work with him up here and the two houses down here? It looks, standing from the road, I'm getting a lot of complaints about it. It looks like it doesn't fit in with, or maybe it will, if the waters come in and flood, it's going to disperse harder on the neighbors than it will on him because he's up higher.
That'll be his responsibility to take care of.
Did any fill dirt get in the setbacks? Because the no fill, that was one of the main things, no fill in the setbacks.
If it did, he has been instructed to remove it.
Is this the last of the dirt? Because they keep bringing
I
dirt.
can't answer that. I don't know.
Can you check on that tomorrow and send me an email and I can let the
He
neighbors
still
know?
has plenty of room to add more dirt if he wishes. His
Height
property-
wise?
His property has room for it if he wants.
I mean, to get higher than he currently is?
If you'll notice, the house next to him is a chain wall, and it has the slabs would really be about the same height on those two properties. Now, the one to the left is much lower, but it's an older
It's really
home,
lower.
older home. But my building department is very much on top of that one and keeping a very close eye on it, and has addressed with him multiple times about the amount of dirt he's brought in and his issue, or the issue about how he's gonna have to drain all that water off.
If you can check tomorrow, can you check and see if he's finished with bringing dirt in? So at least have an idea?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Is he
Um,
planning on doing a chain wall there at all? Do you know?
I believe he said he was, but I don't know if he's brought in the dirt instead and doesn't need a chain wall now. But I haven't seen the plans myself. I'm not sure if we've actually gotten a copy of those.
Okay. I still had some questions. The bump at the guardhouse, is there anything, and somebody moved our slow bump sign, is there anything you could do or ask MDOT if they could just, and I know they're about to come in and do the surface course, they still have, they're probably a few months out because they're working on roundabout number 3, so they've got work to do on that. So we've got a few months of having that bump. Can we get them to come in and add another lip of asphalt? And I probably go over it 10
Probably not.
times a day.
I spoke with the engineer for MDOT 2 weeks ago regarding the additional culverts, which they agreed to, as well as that bump sign and the 2 potholes, the one major issue there at Subway and the, what is that, Snowball Stand, as well as the one down past the Mexican place. They've addressed the Mexican restaurant pothole and are keeping a close eye on that one. I've spoke to him a couple of times since about the other 2. He's supposed to be doing something for that bump. It should have never been there. They should have, leveled that out purposely. I mean, the other side is smooth enough that you can make that transition, and they should have done that. And he acknowledged that, and that was a mistake. But I guess to bring an asphalt truck just to do that little bit is probably not going to happen. But they're there right now doing the
Yeah,
ramp.
they are.
and
They're out
could,
there with asphalt. I
they
see
could
'em.
add it then, and hopefully they'll address that. But
If
I'll
they
certainly
could
bring it
just
back to his attention to
Add
make
some
sure.
and level it off so that, and
Right.
when it's most damaging is at night, because you get up on it, you don't
Right.
see it. It's too
Yep.
late at that point.
Right.
It's too late.
And I've also asked them to put a sign. That obviously hasn't happened either. So, I have no control over what they do there, but I ask and hope.
Do you know who moved the bump ahead sign to the Burger King?
I believe, I have no idea.
It's in the
I believe
Burger
it
King
got,
parking lot.
I believe the wind took, at the last storm, it had removed, or, blown it away. And so, I don't know, somebody just
If you
stuck it
need
up
to
in there.
find it, it's in the Burger King parking lot. Somebody stuck it, and it brought you attention to it, but I'd much rather see asphalt put down. Diamond Head Drive East, a Louis drainage project on the agenda tonight to accept substantial completion. Did we get everything addressed that we discussed at the last meeting with the concerns of the residents?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
We're good for that?
I haven't heard from the residents, so.
Okay, well, that's a positive. The MDOT walking path, we all received probably 10 emails this afternoon.
Yes.
Maybe, and I only read one, only had time to read. It was the same person, so I assumed it was the same photos.
Various photos, yes.
Various, yeah.
Which is the issues that MDOT is addressing as far as the additional culverts that they're putting in.
Okay, and it's just, we've had a lot of rain, so it makes it look,
It does. It makes it look worse.
Mhm.
There also is going to be, grading and filtering of that water or ditches to get that water out and focus to the culverts that they have. It just hasn't been done yet, and it's just part of the overall project. But as I've spoke to the engineer and told him, we can't continue flooding our residents here. You've got to do something to address that water at this time.
it needs to be pulled off. And then they'll be working on a happier construction site if they pull it off. The work assignment tonight for $99,500 to Covington for the paving project. Hadn't they been working on the paving plans?
It is, yes. This is the on-site project
Inspection?
manager.
This is the
site
project manager,
management.
this is not engineering included?
It's actual final engineering, yes. Everything previous was the soil borings and testing of the roadways.
So where are we with the design? Is it still looking like the plans will be ready for March to be on the agenda to advertise to bid?
I'll get with the engineer and get that update.
Okay. Kaliki, Aiki, I see they're out there paving. Well, they're milling right now. They're milling and removing the areas. The area with and I know Councilman Moore asked about it the last meeting, the area where the resident is deeply concerned because there's been a bird bath since the Phase 3 asphalt paving project where the base collapsed and the road immediately sunk in. Then we had the drainage project. They pulled out the broken culvert and still there's a bird bath, so we need to mill down. They're addressing that area on Aiki.
Those are all being addressed, yes. All
Okay,
those
so the
areas.
finished product is not gonna have the bird bath. It's not gonna,
Well, it won't-
everything's gonna look good. I just wanna make sure, because I rode by there and it didn't look like much milling was in that specific area, so I just wanted to
I may have not gotten
confirm
over there yet. I don't know.
that was happening. And that's all I had. Okay, public comments? Bill? And Bill, give me 1 second to figure out. All right, hit it.
Okay, I have questions about the dog park lease, specifically on page 3, under the hazardous materials. It refers to hazardous substances under the law, any law of the state of Louisiana. I'm wondering if there's any reason for Louisiana instead of Mississippi.
That's,
Also,
the lien, or I'm sorry, the rental agreement itself came from attorneys in Louisiana, so that's a typographical error that can easily be
okay.
fixed. So thank you for that. We'll make sure that's corrected in the lease.
All right. Then that same section, number 4, refers to Federal Water Pollution Control Act. I don't know what the drainage plan is for the dog control, but I believe that any stormwater coming off that dog park may contain fecal matter, and I'm wondering if that would be a violation of the terms of the lease as far as hazardous substances. The next item I have is on page 6. Under construction, it says, during construction of any alterations or improvements of a structural nature, tenant or its general contractor shall keep in place insurance. Should that be subtenant rather than tenant on that?
We're the tenant in this lease, yeah. The words tenant and subtenant are interchangeable, but we can take a look at that if that word needs to be changed as well. But it's clearly the intent of the lease is for the city to make sure that they maintain that. But again, thank you.
Then, under page 9, section 14, under recordation, it says this sublease shall not be recoded. Should that be recorded?
That is correct.
Okay. Then on that same section, under signage, it says that subtenant shall be permitted to install signage that the sub-landlord is entitled to install, subject to the sub-landlord's discretion and prior written approval. I'm wondering if that's so open-ended that the, say if Memorial comes in and decides they want to sponsor the dog park and want to put their name on a sign, could Oshner say, no, you can't do that?
Is that what that says?
I mean, all signage would have to be approved by the lessor. That's very typical.
Okay.
So, yeah,
But it's their discretion, so they,
absolutely.
okay, so that's, then just an overall question about it is, if at some point in the future that the city decides that the dog park is no longer viable, that there's low usage or there's liability concerns or the upkeep's too much, what is the mechanism for ending this sublease?
There's a termination agreement in the lease itself.
And then on the other hand, what if the sub-landlord wants to
Works both ways, but we've got assurances from Oshner and from the county that they want this to be successful. We've had assurances all along that they want this to last the entire length of the lease that they have. It's a 25-year lease that Oshner has with the county. We've gotten great support from the county and from Oshner on this, so we don't anticipate that being an issue. But with every contract the city has, there is termination provisions that work both ways.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Bill, you're always amazing. Do you need a job? All right, moving on to John. And I forgot to ask y'all to say your address, but we know where you live, Bill.
I'm John Hurley. Address is 558 Ayla Street. So my property is kind of in between the new walking path, and on the other end, the proposed dog park. Yeah, having highway noise added on one side and dogs on the other, not very good for me. You know, I'm a dog person, but I don't necessarily want 25 barking dogs right next to my property. I did have a few questions about the proposed plan. Will there be a buffer area between the non-recreational usage and the?
Absolutely.
Will that just be open area, or will it be tree screened?
There's several options. I know that the city's looking at, the city public works is gonna kind of grub that area at the outset, but, there will be a substantial buffer, between your residence and the dog park.
There's an existing easement through that area. Is that going to be replaced or still used, or?
There's not gonna be anything constructed other than fencing there, so it wouldn't interfere with the drainage easement.
Well, so will the fencing include the easement area, or it'll be on the other side of the easement area?
Have to look at the plans that the engineers are working on right now, but the easement should not be an issue. If there were construction or a commercial business, which would be allowed on that property as its own right now, obviously the drainage would have to be moved, but because we're keeping it an open area dog park, the easement should not be an issue.
Okay.
But the engineers will have the answers to that when they come up with the final plan.
How will parking be handled or how much parking is allocated for this?
The parking will be, Oshner's going to allow the city to use their existing parking lot. So that was another added benefit of this, is the city will not have to construct any parking area.
Okay.
Where exactly is your house, if you don't mind me asking? I know there's two that back up to.
It's the one right next to the two, so.
Oh, God. Did anybody reach out to you about this plan? I am so sorry. Okay.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Jean.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gene Peters, 68233 Diamond Head Drive East. I think the ship sailed on the dog park, you know, as far as being involved in any of the planning and design. I'm a professional land planner and landscape architect. I know you've been wanting a dog park for a long time, because probably 2018, another committee had reached out to the firm I work for, you know, and we had done some design back then. So it's been quite a while that y'all have been going round and around about this. I've got dogs. We've got an off-leash dog area. Not going to tell you where it is, because, you know, we want to keep it to ourselves.
Oh, yeah, because some people might come visit.
Yeah, but, you know, because we do this all over the southeast, you know, and we VE a lot of projects that are designed that look really great, you know, they often get overcooked. You know, a good off-leash dog area, AKA dog park, you know, takes fencing, seating for the pedestrians, water, shade, and waste management. The expensive structures, they don't get used.
Right.
You know, a bag of tennis balls at Walmart will get used like crazy. It costs like $25. There is a big ditch running across there, or I guess the ditch will stay. It's a heavily wooded site. Are they gonna clear it? Hopefully not, because that shade aspect, you know, being a landscape architect, we sell shade. You know, it takes 8 to 12 years for trees to really produce shade. And shade structures wind up they're expensive, they get tattered, you know, destroyed so hopefully, you know, there is an opportunity to leave some perimeter.
I keep speaking for John, he's probably gonna try to kill me, but, no, that is the plan, is to
Yeah,
leave it
right.
as wooded as possible.
Right.
Dogs love trees, my
That's
dogs
right.
love trees, so,
Yeah.
that's
That'll help.
that's the plan.
Yeah, awesome.
We look at it as a really, the perfect transition spot between commercial development and residential.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than another business there, or, you know, so that's kind of how the concept came together.
Your community's large enough to support multiple, dog
Mhm.
parks and other locations. If you haven't ever done a recreation needs assessment, you know, to holistically plan your amenities and where they happen and where they should happen, and especially adding the bicycling, you know, the pedestrian and bicycling suitability and circulation can be a part of that RNA, you know, to make sure you're making good planning decisions that are proactive and not reactive. And then the roundabout, trying to do plantings in the roundabout, roadside plantings are the most inhospitable place for plants to grow. I ride my bike everywhere. I've looked in those, you know, they're bottomed out with clay. Make sure there's some drainage in there. There's got to be irrigation, or you'll just be replacing plants and eventually concreting over it anyway. So
That's a
thank you.
very good point. So we were talking originally, because when you're coming in now off the interstate after the first roundabout, there's going to be a concrete island going all the way to the next roundabout. So you no longer can cross over at the gas station. So that was the area they had completely concrete, which would have been a hard surface and looked horrible. It would have changed the whole way Diamond Head looks at the entrance. So that's where they're putting plants in. But you're right with the roundabout. So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So the ditch that we have that's going right through the dog park is a drainage ditch. So what are your thoughts in utilizing the drainage ditch as part of the dog park?
My dogs will love it. I mean, they're labs, so
Okay.
they'll be in it, tearing it up, playing in the water. You know, it could, you know, there's reptiles in it, you know, it could be, you know, not a real safe environment for, that's why I was curious if it was gonna get piped or if it was outside the fence, which I thought maybe you alluded to with the previous.
Kind of looking at it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited to see the engineer's plan.
Yeah, you know, I mean, dog parks they're social environments for the dogs and for the people. You know, the benches are real important. You want people to be able to get in and sit down. A lot of people aren't gonna venture over to that end, and a lot of dogs won't either, the small dogs and stuff.
We have 10 benches that the Eagle Scout Project built for the dog park.
Oh, nice, fantastic,
We just have to find them.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Gina. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And that was the last of the public comments, so we're going to move on to the agenda items. Motion to approve February 4th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. Resolution 2025-045. Motion to adopt Resolution 2025-006 to purchase easements for the bank stabilization for the Frederick pilot in the amount of $5,000. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. Councilman Finley, any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi?
No, thank you.
Councilman Marr?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clark?
No, ma'am.
City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Consent agenda items 2 through 11 and 13. 12 is not included. Through 13. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Action agenda item 2025-043, motion to authorize the city clerk to publish the qualification period for municipal election on the city's Facebook page in addition to the required locations. I'm going to move on that. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. And my discussion on this is very brief. Just add an area where most residents use social media as a resource. And there was someone that posted today, which I thought was really brilliant. She said, well, I work a lot. So when I come home at night, that's how I learn about the candidates running for office. So if you're running for office, that's where they're looking to, on Facebook. So having it where it's on there, we give another resource for residents to be able to see it. Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's no-brainer. The more you can communicate with the people, the better.
Councilman Clark.
No, ma'am.
Councilman Finley.
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi.
I just wanted to say, I agree. I think, communication is great, and the more we can, the better. And by the time, another election rolls around in 4 more years, there may even be more social media platforms. We may want to even expand it beyond Facebook. But I think, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me. Aye.
Okay, we have 1 no, Councilman Clark. So action agenda item number 12. Motion to enter into a sublease agreement with Oshner Medical Center and the City of Diamond Head for approximately 1.3 acres for a period not to exceed the duration of the prime lease and the amount of $1 per year for non-medical use as a dog park. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Councilman Lisi, any comments?
Yes, thank you. John, I know you've been working on this for months and months and having to go back and forth with the Board of Supervisors and the legal team at Oshner, and everybody's been on board, but it's just a lot of, it's been a lot, surveys and things, and obviously we want to be very cognizant of its impact on the neighbor and who backs up to that and leave a big buffer and all that. So, authorizing this lease is just to take the next step, right? To have the engineers draw the plans and to get going, right?
That is correct. I have not,
And then-
I will say I stepped over a little bit, and I asked the engineer last week when I finally got the lease finalized through the legal department and everything, if they would go ahead and start putting together the drawings.
Bless you.
I did nothing prior to that, nor did I ask the engineers to spend any time on this area in case either the lease never made its way to
Right.
you guys or not. So he is working on that, and we hope to see something here in the next 2 weeks.
And did everybody get this handout, or was this just for us? with the info?
Just for you guys right now.
Okay, could that be added to the minutes? Because I think it's good info that people might need. It might help explain some things. But I
Sure.
saw in here that people think this property's smaller, but I think it says when the engineer kind of picked up the drawing and just superimposed it onto this, it's
Correct.
not.
The overall land, yes, is 1.3 acres or whatever compared to the 2 acres that were at the original dog park site. But the dog park design itself fits within this same acreage with plenty of extra room on it, which is why I said depending on if additional fencing is required to fence in the dog park. If not, we will stay within that same budget, but we may have to increase the budget some for the additional fencing. But as the gentleman's concerned about the area, there will be a large buffer to the west or to the east to be between him and the houses. That will not be dealt with or messed with at all. So at least that's my idea, is to leave that just as it is. So whatever's wooded currently in his backyard will stay that way for, I hope, at least 20 feet. But we'll see how far we can get that buffer between them.
And I really like that you're trying to leave as much shade as possible, so we
Certainly.
do whatever we can do to keep the tree canopy.
Yes.
Because we're all well aware that it does take so long for
Right,
trees to actually produce shade.
That is
So-
true. There's several trees shown on the survey that you have, and we plan on leaving all of those and hopefully additional trees.
Okay, well, that's good news. Thank you for all your hard work.
All right, Councilman Marr.
Yeah, I'm happy that we can finally kind of settle in and say, here's going to be the dog park. I like the fact that it has a parking lot built into it that we don't have to pay for. I'm really against spending tons of money on a dog park. I think an outer fence and then 2 fences inside for the large dogs and the small dogs, and a water access and the bags for the pickup and the stuff. But I mean, I don't think you have to do hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. I think, you do it, you get it, people can have the benches and sit there, and I like the idea that we're trying to keep as many trees as possible. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Clark,
No, ma'am.
Councilman Finley.
Nope, nothing to add.
All right, I have a few comments, but what are we gonna do about this resident that emailed in? Who's gonna read that? The comments that couldn't be here tonight? Okay, so we had a resident send in an email that could not be here tonight, and it says, "Sorry, I could not be present. Research shows a successful dog park depends on community collaboration. Since the steering committee of the first dog park was shut down, I have no further community collaboration. I do not feel the site under consideration is large enough. It's smaller than the last, and even that was truly not big enough. There are questions to be answered before a decision is made. How many trees will come down? Any trees left for shade? Will field dirt be brought in? What is the cost of the fencing? The cost of the doggy security gates, a transition area, plumbing for water and washing off, cement pad for the above, a way station, lighting? Who is designing this? All of these are legitimate costs and need consideration before the dog park sign is hung up and called. Thank you, Vaughn Biggs." So those were the questions that Vaughn had. Does somebody want to answer just a few, the questions?
Because I addressed it earlier, I mean, I think we've addressed many of those concerns. The size, it's actually going to be a larger area for the dogs. Parking is not an issue. As many trees are going to be left. But I think the important thing right now is it is correct to say we don't have the final engineer's plan. The same engineer that's been working on it this whole time is now transferring plans for this site. We'll have that, and that will have to come before you before we have a dog park. What's on the agenda tonight is a $1 a year lease for that property. If something happens, if the dog park, to address Gerard's concern, is $2 million, he's not voting for it. So we can opt out of that $1 a year lease. But the first step is to have a interest in the property. The lease does that. Any of the other concerns, like I said, we'll have plans. The engineer will be here. When the plans are finalized, John will come to you with a amount. He'll come to you with a funding source, and it will be up for you all to approve at that time, hopefully sooner rather than later. This is just another one of those necessary steps.
And I just wanted to ask you again. So
We are out of order.
Oh, excuse
That's okay. If we
Excuse me,
need
we'll
to
come
go
back.
back,
We'll come back.
we'll go back.
Pardon me.
Okay. Let's go back before I do mine. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
I
you
didn't mean to
can go.
interrupt you. I'm
No, that's
sorry.
okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, just to clarify, that you said that it's, the way it's zoned currently, something commercial could go in there.
Absolutely.
So at least this keeps it as mostly green space.
Yeah, I think it's going to stay green space, and it's going to stay, what I really look at is, as we look at Orion's plan, we've got a lot of concerns in the city as we try to kind of develop. We've got some concerns with these, what I call transition zones between typical residential and typical commercial. And this is an opportunity where we can really, it gives us an opportunity to kind of make that transition a little bit softer than maybe we'll have to do in some other areas. So I think that's just my personal opinion, though.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
All right. So moving on now to my comments. So how long have you been working with Oshner on the lease?
I don't know exactly, Mayor. It's been back and forth for some time. It's been in their legal department.
Since the council approved that site for the dog
Yeah,
park,
whenever that
roughly. Started with the county, found out that Oshner actually owned it, and then have started went from there, working with them to get the
Is that
lease.
like 8 months, 9 months?
Close to a year, I would think.
Okay, and so here's my concern. So we've been looking at it for 1 year, and we had a resident that butts up to it that come tonight, because probably he saw my post on Facebook. I don't know if that's why he did. So the first thing when you're planning something, and especially a dog park, and these are my comments, so I'm free to say what I want, you should reach out to the residents. With the dog park steering committee, it was the first thing we did. We reached out to people, because that's not a typical project. It's not. That's barking dogs. They're going to be loud. They're having fun. you know, you need to first reach out to the residents. So I'm not happy about that. Second, we leased property from the POA for the dog park that somebody wanted on the children's playground area, the Spartans football field, and we ended up spending thousands because the portable trailer was broke. We had to put in a new transformer. There was no electricity there.
We leased that property for the football fields.
For the football
to use
fields.
for the
We-
youth football program, not for a dog park.
Yes, we did. We paid for a dog park layout. That's why we leased it.
We had the engineer take a look at that as an additional.
That's why we
but
leased it for the
lease
dog
was-
park.
No, ma'am, the
We
lease
were
was for
not
the football.
replacing the
youth
ball
foot-
fields with a dog park at any time there.
That's why we looked at it and we did the lease. I'll post the motion on
lease was-
Facebook. But
was
these are my
specifically for the
comments.
football
These are mine.
youth
So
program.
we did a dog park layout in the parking lot and it didn't work. Y'all remember that? And it didn't work.
Well, there were
So-
concerns with that site like there were with other sites. Your concern with that site was that it was a high crime site. So there were, every site that's been looked at, there have been concerns with. This is the
Now, my
latest.
point, so before you interrupt me, my point is, if you don't have a plan laid out before you lease something, then you're jumping ahead of where you should be. So we know that we have 1.3 acres, but I asked for a plan and I was told there is no plan, it's not drawn. I will never again approve to lease something without a plan so that I know it's viable, it fits, and it's gonna work. That's another reason I'm not voting for it. The plan should have been in conjunction with the layout so that I could see. What are we gonna do about restrooms in that area? Okay, but it was a park area so they could use the Twin Lakes. So or get the code if you're a member in good standing. What about, so there's no restrooms? Is there a drinking fountain?
There will be a fountain, yes, ma'am. It's part of the overall design that was from the original dog park design.
So the total cost is $70,000.
That was the original cost. As we all know, inflation is hitting us pretty hard, so I can't say what the new layout and design cost will be.
And that's a good thing to know before you lease the property too. We have X.
Well,
So-
I didn't feel like it was important to waste the engineer's time and money to design something on a piece of property we didn't own or even have a lease on. So
You forget
I
I
worked on
worked-
getting the lease first, then
You
getting the
forget, though, I
engineer.
worked in an engineering office for 40 years, and an engineer can give you a probable cost to say, it's gonna cost $100,000.
Well,
Then
he did. That was the $70,000. That was still the original cost.
From
but
how
we-
long ago was that?
July.
Okay, there's just too many unanswers. So let's do city clerk roll call.
Yeah, well, I'd like to go around again.
Okay, so Councilman Marr. Who made the motion? Councilman Lisi?
I did. I just have a question. I don't remember ever voting for a lease for a dog park on Noma. That was specifically for youth sports, and there was some discussion
correct.
at the time about hurrying to do that so it would be in place for them to start football.
That is correct.
And in fact, it was emphatically not for a dog park because we did think it might be a good idea. We asked our engineer to look and say, is it even possible? And he went out there and looked at the parking lot and got on his computer and drew a rectangle and said, yeah, it would be possible. And then everybody went crazy and said you might get raped and murdered if you go down to Noma Drive and there's no shade, we don't want it down there, a thousand reasons. And we're like, okay, well, never mind. We thought that might be good because it's just sitting there. But it was never, for the record, it was never, ever a lease entered into for a dog park and thousands of dollars spent for
That
the
is correct.
POA. So if I read that on Facebook, I just want to go on the record as saying that's not true.
That is correct. It was solely for youth sports and to continue that because the POA was restricting residents. And they had to be in good standing. So they were looking to get out of that. And the city was looking to allow those residents to play youth sports. And so we entered into that lease with
Right,
them.
and that's the beauty of YouTube. Anybody can go back and watch that meeting and see what happened. It's all on the internet, and that's can be clarified very easily. Thank you.
Councilman Marr?
Yes, let me just say that I have no problems saying yes to a lease for $1 a year for 25 years. And you are right, City Council, that if the cost is too high, I'll just say no. And I don't think that we're really gonna cry over $25 over 25 years being that wasted. I'd rather have the lease in place before we pay engineers to do a final look at the lease, at the dog park.
Councilman Clark?
Yes. So the cost is 70, the donations, do you guys have a roundabout of how much we have on donations?
Yes. Right around 30-ish is what the current donations are,
Okay.
or that were made. And so that's where the 40,000 is coming to the original OPC in July of 70,000. And it was 67 something, overall.
Okay, and those donations, if they were earmarked for something specific, is it gonna still go towards that
100%.
specific?
That's exactly what those donations are for, and that's why all those design elements are still being incorporated in this new design, so that they can cover those, provide for those donations, and specifically for what they were for.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Finley?
Just going back to to the beginning with Orion Planning, the quote was overwhelming support for dog park from all the people, the committees that were involved in that. I did some. There's been a lot of talk about green space. This is not green space. This is property that belongs to Ochsner. They can do whatever they want to, but they can turn it into a parking lot. We have the opportunity to save as more trees than would be saved if any other use was there, rather sans just leaving it as it is. I did do some research on dog parks across the coast. I'll make this very brief. Biloxi, Harrison County, Bay St. Louis, even Gulf Shores, Alabama. Our dog park is larger or as large as all of those except for Harrison County. Harrison County and Bay St. Louis both have roadside parking. And so there was no parking lot, you're just talking about roadside parking. And did I mention there's no restrooms at any of those facilities? Thank you.
All right. I physically have visited all the dog parks on the coast and in Slidell, and some of them have set the bar really high, especially the city of Long Beach. Outstanding job. Past Christians is also very nice. Biloxi's has been there since, what year do you think? I want to say the early 2000s. The one on Pops Ferry.
I think I did that with Sherry Bell.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's been a while.
It was an old baseball field.
It was, but it worked out well. So my opinion has not changed. So City Clerk, roll call.
Finley,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes?
Mayor.
No. Moving on to the docket of claims. Docket of claims, DKT 232515, DKT 232549, in the amount of $714,337.03. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve payroll payables, PR claim 000225, in the amount of $26,337.48. PR claim 00226, in the amount of $25,335.19. PR claim in the amount of $3,055.04. PR claim 000228 in the amount of $27,727.45. DKT 232504, DKT 232514 in the amount of $40,382.65. Motion?
I'll move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
I'll second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve docket of claims DKT 232551 in the amount of $5,000. This was the docket that we added to purchase the easement. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
Departmental reports, motion to approve A and B.
Move that.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any public comments on a non-agenda item? Any closing comments? Councilman Marr?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clark?
Yes, ma'am, I have one.
Okay.
The motion to authorize the city clerk to put on Facebook, I know we had received an email a few weeks ago from someone who didn't have Facebook. I mean, if someone doesn't have Facebook, it doesn't like the Facebook page, or someone's blocked and they can't see that someone shared it, it's no different than them already doing what they're doing. So if they can't see it because of those couple of reasons, I don't see why the city clerk should be not forced, but have to put it on Facebook too as another reason. Because what if they forget to post it, or it's a couple days late, and then it's their fault because, you know, someone might be trying to mess with the election or anything like that. So I think we should continue to stay where we're at, and that's the reason I voted that way.
All right. Councilman Finley? Any comment?
Thank you, Councilman Clark. I voted yes. Where do we stop? Do we have to push it to their Amazon feed? Do we have to push it to their Netflix account? But I don't want to hold up the process of information, so I voted yes.
Councilman Lisi?
Thank you. And Councilman Clark, it didn't say require the city clerk, it said authorize the city clerk, so I think that helps with your concern. That, you know, I think that language is a little bit better. And then one more thing about back to the Turnberry Way property with all the dirt. Okay, I'm just thinking about that some more. Is it possible I know he's planning to lower the height of his drains. He's got a landscape culvert, and his drains stick up quite a bit above the dirt, and they're not catching any of the water.
Okay.
And I know, you know, eventually the plan is could that go ahead and happen? I think the neighbors would appreciate it, and it certainly couldn't hurt. It would probably help, I would imagine. But they're not catching anything that drains. So
we can certainly ask.
Just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
All right, my closing comment. What is the cost for a special election off the hand? What have we paid in the past? $15,000. My other question was for the city attorney. Now that we are at the point of moving into the election is April 1st, then the new council will take over July 1st. Are we at a point where we can enter into leases? It's okay during this period? What can't we do during this period?
There's limits on certain expenditures. You can't amend the budget, things, you know, more than, I believe, is it one time, Jeannie? Or a certain amount, but, yeah. So that's it. It really has more to do with the expenditures than entering into contracts. So, to your point, July 1st, when the new council is seated, whoever that is, every contract, every lease will have to be either renewed or altered or amended, rejected by that council.
All right, I was just checking on what we can and cannot do, because I know we're in the area of election and we can't. All right, any need for executive session? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, before we do that, I should have had this in my city manager report. I just want to remind everybody that we are doing the March for the Mayors, and we are collecting soup here at City Hall, also in the fire department, Rouse's, and the library. So it's a great cause. It goes to help feed the homeless in this area and provide a good meal for them. So if you guys have any soup you can bring and drop off at any of those locations, we'll be collecting that through the end of the month. Thank you.
All right, so that's soup, canned soup, again this year. Every year we get canned soup. So drop it off, Rouse's, City Hall, Library. There's a drop box right out here during the day, so you don't even have to see anybody. It's under the Portica Share. Get out, put it in there, and donate. It does go to King's Kitchen and Hancock County Food Pantry, so locally it will assist. All right, motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.